Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. And I do realize it's Wednesday and the new episode of Titans comes out tomorrow. On the bright side, you get back-to-back videos. Better late than never. Shoot, life has been very topsy-turvy, but I am so excited to talk about Season 4, Episode 9, Dude, Where's My Guard? Oh my God. This episode is just top tier, period. I said in my initial reaction video, I think in the video, in the comments, or both, that this was a beautiful character piece for Gar that we got too late. And I stand on that. I also stand on how ill-placed this episode is within the season. Why is it, yet again, we have 3 episodes left, right? And you choose now, episode 9, again, you choose that as the breakaway point. Huh? We have 3 episodes to wrap everything up in a bow forever. And you decide, yeah, we're going to take this time to focus on Gar at the height of the Brother Blood and Mother Mayhem badness. No, it should have happened. Like I said in my initial reaction, the episode where it ended on Gar in front of that tree of dead animal carcasses, we should have had it there. Now, from a financial standpoint, I understand why they did this, because you can tell from episodes 7, 8, and now 9, the budget has been budgeting. The cinematography, the camera work, everything has been just a step up from part 1, period. So I get why they moved it to this point in the season, but narratively, it looks a hot ass mess. However, all of that aside, the main reason why I love this episode really is because of what happened off camera with Ryan Potter, who plays Beast Boy. And I made an audio message a couple days before I'm recording this, because it just came to my head on why I appreciate this episode so much. And I'm going to put it here and then we'll come back. All right? Perfect.
The reason that I love this episode so much, it goes far beyond what's on camera. It really does. Ryan Potter, who plays Beast Boy, has been very adamant and protective of the character of Gar. He has been fighting for this character since season 1. And you can tell with Gar's progression, his screen time, what he has to do. Like, it has improved season after season. Now, I've had my complaints and I stand on those complaints because, you know, Ryan has fought for that character, but ultimately the writers continuously screwed him over by giving him meaningless plots or nothing to do or no central story or development. You know what I mean? I made a whole video about that. And I read a review, or not a review, I'm sorry, an interview where Ryan said, like, literally, the only way I'm coming back to season 4 is if I have a hand in Gar's story, is if I'm there putting this story together, period. And I love that. That's really the main reason why I love this episode so much, because you can tell the care, the level of care and passion. It's there. You could see it from the first frame of the episode. And I just love actors who fight for their characters and who fight for, you know, they want the best for their characters. I love that. It always shines through on screen, and it is just beautiful to watch. And that's why this episode is supreme for me.
Okay, welcome back. So let's get started. Let's not even waste time. We open up the episode with a young Gar. He is sitting on this bench and he's basically just processing this trauma that he's been through. His parents are dead. He's alone. He has these new powers and he doesn't know what to do with himself. It's really sad. Now, my thing about it is, did they retcon his origin? Because if you remember back in season 1, Gar was in a war zone, right? And he was injected with like a disease or whatever. And he was the only one to survive. Like, it happened when he was a teenager, though. It didn't happen when he was a little boy. So I'm wondering if they retconned his origin, or this whole sequence with him at the zoo is a metaphysical realm, which makes a little more sense. So I'm okay with the second one. I'm hoping they didn't just retcon his origin just to do it. But anyways, we go from there and we cut to present day Gar, who travels through the red, landing in a mysterious cage, and he's approached by the Beast and a lion bat hybrid creature, which I thought was pretty ironic considering it's fairly similar to Gar's most well-known transformations, the bat and the tiger. Obviously a lion and a tiger are not the same, but they are similar to me. So I just thought that was ironic. We pan over to Dominic slash the Beast. I think I'm just going to call him Dominic for the rest of the video. But he introduces himself to Gar and basically says, look, I'm your freedom, which I thought was a very poignant line. I hope I'm saying that word correctly, but I thought it was a very great line, right? And I think it contrasts heavily with Gar himself, who feels like the whole episode, his freedom lies in reuniting with the Titans and reestablishing those connections that he's lost at this point in time. So then we cut to the title sequence. And normally I wouldn't even talk about this, but I have a complaint. Because you know how in the Titans title sequence, when you get to the end, it has pictures of characters or moments that'll be most relevant to the episode, right? So why is it that we get to the end of the title sequence and Jinx, of all people, Jinx, she has an entire little section at the end of the word Titans. She has a section, but not Rachel. How is Jinx more relevant to the episode than Rachel, Gar's closest connection on the team, the only Titan to physically show up in the episode? But yeah. Let's give it to Jinx. Like, I just couldn't. I was very annoyed by that. So after the title sequence, Gar is attempting to retrace his steps and of course find the Titans. Dominic tells Gar, look, I brought you here. And Gar's like, okay, well, take me back. Gar demands to go back to the red, to no avail. And so Dominic explains exactly what the red is and how you just can't simply go back to it. So we finally get like a clear definition of the red, which I appreciated. I wrote down, it was a force that connects all animals and life across the universes, which is foreshadowing to the Cameo Palooza that we get towards the end of the episode. Dominic tells Gar that the green plague that killed his parents changed him, which I'm trying to figure out if they retconned his origin again, right? So whatever. Gar takes this information not too well. He deflects and rejects it, basically saying, no. The chief, he's the one that did this to me, right? He's the one that saved me, actually. He says he's the one that saved me. Keep that in mind. So Dominic then reveals, look, I get it, but the green plague, like, it killed my family too. It did me wrong. And which was surprising. I figured they might go in that direction, like a shared grief, but I don't know. I feel like that could have been explored just a little more, but we don't have the time, so it is what it is, right? After all that, Dominic tries to enlist Gar's help, like, I need you to help me with blah, 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 but Gar really just wants to go home, like the whole episode. And before they can even talk about it, they get ambushed by these guards, and it turns out that these guards are from a lab that kidnaps, experiments, and infects apes. So Dominic reveals that he's here for revenge, right? He's like, look, I'm going to free the apes and I'm burning the lab down. Are you with me or not? And so, you know, from there, Dominic tells his origin story, which was pretty nice, I will say. And he tells Gar that, look, you are more connected to the red than me, than Vixen, than Animal Man. And I was like, oh, we keep getting all these cameos. I don't know what to do with myself. You keep saying Vixen, I'm going to want to see her on the screen. So anywho, after all that, we get this weird explanation as to why Gar changes into green animals. Dominic was like, well, look, green's your favorite color, right? And I'm sitting here like, well, okay, but we didn't need this. Like, I don't think anyone was actively questioning, you know, why of all the colors does Gar change into a green animal? And I guess from a writer's standpoint, I can see why they felt the need to do this, because Gar's skin is not green in the Titans universe, but at the same time, nobody cares. So we just didn't need that. Whatever. Dominic tells Gar to drink a mysterious liquid. He's like, look, we need to get this done. We need to go drink this. You can go into the red by yourself. Drink it. So Gar just drinks it. If it were me, I'm like, what is in this? Why am I drinking it? Don't make me like, what are we doing? But whatever, it's fine. So Gar drinks it. And then we get this how long does it take to begin sequence with all these different Gars talking fast, running fast, Gar with long hair. It was beautiful. I was like, oh, the budget, the effects. I loved it. So we go from there, and then Gar starts to travel through the red. So this is the first of 2 trips that he takes throughout both, this episode. So his first stop, he goes back to that tree that I mentioned earlier with the animal carcasses. And then we hear Rachel's voice, and I'm like, oh my God! So then we get to his second stop where he's in the Titans RV with Rachel and season 1 Gar, which I thought was just, it was so amazing. Purple hair Raven. I didn't think we would see her again. I'm very glad we saw her again. I hope we get to see her in present day with purple hair, though I doubt it, but I digress. So this whole sequence is basically Rachel telling Gar, it's time to stop following and start creating your own path. Be a leader. Like, you know what this is. Don't worry about us. We're going to be fine. And Gar's like, well, how can I not? You're my family. I'm like, the fact that Raven's the only one there. Oh, their reunion is going to be so sweet. And my BB Ray heart was on fire for like 2 straight minutes. But we move away from that and we go to the 4th stop, which is unfortunately with Jinx. I will say the music choice during this sequence, it was giving CW, which is ironic considering what happens later. But I did not like the music choice in this episode for the most part. Moving on. So we're with Jinx, unfortunately, in full costume, mind you, which is hilarious that they are trying to stretch every penny that they spent on this costume. They were like, look, we have got to make this costume last. Because she wore it for 5 seconds and then she died. Like, how embarrassing. So Jinx is like, well, I'm not really dead, but I'm dead. And I'm like, please, just stay dead. Nobody cares that much about you. She tries to blame the Titans for her death, which is hysterical because I'm like, I guess we didn't see the same sequence of events when you went up to Mother Mayhem and you were cocky and then you got stabbed for it. Like, that's on you, not on the Titans. And then we get a hint into the overall theme for this episode, which is essentially Dominic trying to tell Gar to forgo all connections, forget about the Titans, forget about your loved ones, just focus on the red. So Jinx is the first person to tell him that, which is so fitting for a character like Jinx. So anyways, we go to Gar's 5th stop, which is his younger self. He watches his younger self on the bench crying and just really in a traumatic state, and he sheds a tear, and it was really, it was kind of heart-wrenching. Like, it didn't get me to where I'm shedding tears, but it was heart-wrenching to watch. Ryan did an amazing job this episode. So we cut away from that, and Dominic and Gar are in the car. They're heading to the lab to confront Dr. Myers, who is the person experimenting on these apes. And Gar, when they get to the lab, he's like, the lab looks closed, which I thought was great foreshadowing to the plot twist that's about to come up. I thought that was great foreshadowing. I didn't even pick it up the first time I watched. So Dominic and Gar fight their way through the lab. We get it, the fight scene, epic. And I was just saying in my last Titans video that I wanted to see more fight choreo with other team members, and we got it with Gar. Like, I think outside of Dick, the second best choreography goes to Gar. Period. So they're fighting through. We get three transformations in one scene. It was so beautiful. So we start with the gorilla, then he like flips off the railing and changes into a bird, and then from there he changes, of course, into the infamous tiger. I was like, oh my god. And we should have gotten like 3 new animals, but the budget, can't strain it too much. It was amazing though. That fight sequence was just absolutely a fucking blast. So we cut from that and we are with we're inside the lab now. So they're confronting Dr. Myers, and they find out that the ape that he kidnapped was infected with anthrax. So they're like, okay, we can't free this ape, because if we do, then everybody else is going to be infected with anthrax. So Dominic is like, all right, okay, you're right. This ape is going to die here, but so are you, Dr. Myers. And he does this thing where he like fuses Dr. Myers with the ape, and he dies. He dies of anthrax. I was like, oh, that was cool. I think that's a power we're never going to see again, but it was cool nonetheless. So moving on from that, this is where things start to kick up and we start to get to the plot twist. So Gar finds out that this whole lab is really the chief's. It belongs to Dr. Niles Caulder. And I kind of called it maybe like a minute before they said it. I was like, are they going to say it's the chief? And they did, because the chief is a bastard. So he finds that out. He is just in shock. He's like extremely pissed off. And Dominic tells him that, the chief released the plague intentionally. So Gar's looking at him at this point like, okay, what the hell is going on? You seem to know more than I do, and I'm in shock right now. What is happening? So then we get the plot twist. It turns out that Gar has been in the red the entire time up until this very moment. The scene changes, the lab is dark and empty, and you're like, what's going on? And so Dominic explains it like, you basically got an echo of the past. This lab was destroyed years ago by me. And so Gar was like, you did all of this for what? To tell me the chief was a bastard, basically? Like, why did you waste my time? And I'm here like, why did you waste our time? But as elaborate as it seems, I think this was a way to really emotionally manipulate Gar into devoting his entire self to the red and forgoing all personal connections like the Titans. And you can tell Gar is just not subscribing to that line of thinking. He hasn't been the whole episode. So he storms off. He's like, look, I'm leaving because we're not doing this. Like, you wasted my time. My friends are in danger. I'm not doing this. So Dominic tries to tell him again, like, you need to be with the red. Be one with the red. It is your destiny to be its protector. You're just gonna have to be alone. And so Gar's like, no. Gar ultimately decides, okay, I will be the red's protector, but I'm not gonna abandon the people I love and care about, which of course not. Duh. So Gar tells Dominic, look, for the first time in my life, I'm ready to take on this responsibility. I'm ready to do this my way. So he travels through the red. This is the second trip. And this is where we get the Cameo Palooza, the multiverse Palooza. And I the first time I watched it, I was just in shock that they actually addressed as much as they did. So let's go through all the stops that he makes, right? The first stop, which is honestly the most impactful to me. He revisits and comforts young Gar. So he goes to him at the bench and he's like, you're not going to be alone. You're going to make friends. You're going to have a family. This is not the end for you. And he hugs him, and it was just so sweet. Oh, Ryan and the young actor who played young Gar, they did an amazing job. It was great. So after that, we start getting the cameos. And let me just say, the music choice, again, the caption said they were playing a song called Superheroes, which I get why they chose that song, but it was really giving CW. It honestly almost took me out of the moment. I hated it. I'll be honest, I hated this song choice more than the other one. Like, it was gross. Anyways, so we start getting the cameos. We get a Flash CW cameo, and Flash actually kind of kicks him into his second stop, which is with Stargirl. We get the Stargirl crossover. Now, it didn't do much for me because I'm not a Stargirl watcher. Hopefully the fans of that show got their life. I feel like they were kind of duped because this really was marketed as a Stargirl crossover. So I'm sure they were expecting more than 5 minutes, especially for a show that's canceled. Like,
yikes.
But we go away from there and then we get more cameos. We get Swamp Thing, Gone Too Soon. We get Shazam, surprisingly. We get a Grant Morrison cameo. I was like, what? And I didn't know who that was the first time I watched it. I was on the phone with Aaliyah and she was like, yeah, it's this person, Grant Morrison. And I was like, Grant Morrison? What the fuck? I was like, well, I don't know how I didn't put it together, but alas. We get a Teen Titans Go cameo. If anything, they should have just put the original cartoon, but I digress. We get a Harley Quinn cameo, Dr. Fate, Joker, Jonathan Kent, and this is all at this point their voices. It's nothing visual. But then we get the final stop, the best one, the second best stop. Doom Patrol! And then we get Cyborg and Beast Boy finally interact! Yes. This is what I've been wanting for so long. I said it in my relationships video. I was like, the first thing I said at the very end, I was like, we have got to get Cyborg and Beast Boy on screen. And we fucking got them. And we're gonna get them in extension next episode. Oh my god. Like I can't. If Cyborg at any point in time interacts with the Titans, like the full team, I'm going to lose my mind. I just want that to be very clear. I will lose my shit because holy smokes, like, oh my god. And that wraps up the episode. A beautiful way to close out this just wonderful character piece for Gar as he navigates through his trauma and, you know, finds a place of leadership. It was great. I had a really good time watching it. I would say my final rating, I think I'm going to stick with an 8.5. I think I'm going to stick with an 8.5. There's just some things that kind of took me out of the episode a bit. There were some weird cuts, and then how the episode is placed within the season. That affects my enjoyment because I like to see stories play out in a way that makes sense. So yeah, I had a really great time with this episode. Let me know what you guys thought. I know this video is super late. Hopefully for tomorrow's episode, it's not this late, but life. So we'll see. Anyways, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Wait, yeah, no, I said that right. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Bye.